If you say yes when you mean no, if you feel guilty for having needs, if you're being called selfish for protecting yourself, if you're exhausted from carrying everyone else and pretending that you're fine with it, stay with me. Because what I'm about to say might be the thing no one in your life has ever said to you out loud. You don't owe anyone your depletion. Not your parents, not your partner, not your friends, not your family, not your community, nobody. You were not put here to drain yourself empty so other people can be comfortable. But somewhere in your history, you were taught otherwise. Think about what you were shown. Maybe love in your home looked like sacrifice. Maybe the people who cared about you were always giving beyond what they had, always tired, always putting themselves last. And you were watching and you were taking notes, learning what love looked like. Or maybe you learned more directly. Maybe you were the one who kept the peace, the one who didn't ask too much, the one who stayed small so someone else could feel big. Maybe you learned that your job was to manage someone else's emotions, to be easy, to not need anything, to be grateful for whatever you got. And so you became very good at giving. Here's the part most people miss. That skill, that capacity to give endlessly, to put others first, to show up even when you're empty, it was originally a survival strategy. It was how you got love, how you stayed safe, how you made yourself useful enough that people would keep you around. It cost you the belief that you mattered just for existing, not for what you produce, not for what you sacrifice, not for how much you give, just for being you. Here's what this looks like now. You say yes to things you deeply resent, and then you wonder why you feel resentful. You give people more than they've asked for, and then feel hurt when they don't notice. You set yourself on fire to keep everyone else warm, and then feel confused about why you burned out. You help people who never helped back, and then they call it love. But that's not love, that's debt. An invisible debt you never agreed to, you never signed up for, you never actually owed, but you keep paying it. Let me say something that might sting. Some of the people around you right now need you to stay depleted, not because they're evil, but because your exhaustion is convenient for them. Your lack of limits make their life easier. Your willingness to carry their weight means they never have to carry their own weight. And when you start to change that, when you start saying no, when you start having needs, when you start asking for something back, some of those people will not handle it well. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. They'll make you feel guilty for finally taking up the space you were always entitled to. And when that happens, you'll know exactly what the relationship was actually built on. Because people who genuinely love you don't want you depleted. They want you whole. They want you rested. They want you full. If they need you empty to love you, they were never interested in you. They were interested in what you provide. Here's the identity shift I want you to sit with. Giving from depletion is not a virtue. It's a wound dressed up as one. Real generosity comes from overflow. You give because you genuinely want to, because you have more than enough, because it brings you joy, not because you're afraid of what happens if you don't, not because your worth depends on how much you sacrifice. That distinction is everything. And this week, I want you to ask yourself one question. What am I giving right now that I actually resent? Not what you happily give, not what flows from genuine love, but what you give while feeling trapped, obligated, invisible. I want you to write it down. I want you to look at it. That list is your debt ledger, and it's time to stop paying it. On the next episode, we're going somewhere even deeper, because your worst habits, the one you've been fighting for years, they're not your enemy, They're trying to protect you. You can't break them until you understand what they're protecting you from. Tune in for episode 4 next Tuesday.